Okay. Jeff Kaufman, I'm the Chair of Planning and Zoning. And we're having our public hearing on proposed zoning regulations, updating the existing ones we have. I've said before, but what we're doing here is our existing zoning regulations are extremely outdated. Every once in a while there's an amendment, but for the most part they haven't been updated. They haven't been updated over the years. Often we've had applications in here and we've been caught putting out brush fires. I won't go down the list, but anyway, so the new regulation, the proposed regulations update a lot of those things. So just a couple things I want to comment. I want to just talk about a little bit on comments and concerns that occurred at the last when we discussed the draft regulations.
Can you speak up a little? Can you speak up a little?
Okay. All right. Okay, so not in any particular order because I just went through the notes from the people who made comments. So there was a big pushback on the idea of residential in development one, and so that's not in any proposed regs that you're looking at that have been online or we're discussing tonight. Traffic was came up quite often. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of control over the traffic, and I think it needs something that we need to try to get addressed with the state. I know it's going back and forth over the years. There have been traffic studies. They're not very successful ones, and usually not exactly what we need to be done down there. So I think it's actually a good idea to have someone help us, maybe an outside consultant, do a traffic study of the area. No different than if we have an application and we question the traffic, we bring in a traffic consultant. There were a lot of comments, concerns about a strain on the town resources. So the proposed regulations that we're discussing tonight do not propose any increased density in any of the zones. There was a lot of questions and discussions about the Country Club of Woodbridge, but as of now, the Country Club of Woodbridge is not part of this proposal. That's pretty much in the hands of the Board of Selectmen, which I'm sure we've all been reading in the paper. There was concern about big box stores, the square footage, number of stories on buildings. While technically you can put a big box store, in the proposed regs we are limiting the size, and we are also limiting the height of the building doesn't really are affected because one of the largest concerns was, along with density, was the creating a T4 zone, which was a mixed use with retail on the ground floor and residential and or offices above, and that is actually not part of the regulations tonight. And then a lot of concern was concern about rental units. While obviously everybody knows anybody can rent their house, there's nothing in the regulations to encourage building anything that becomes rentals. I want to be clear where the residential zones B1, C, D, as well as A and B, although A and B is not technically part of these regs, although they have to be in here because you can't just ignore them. But there's no increase of density in B1, C, and D. I don't know exactly which zone it is. You are allowed to do multifamily housing. You're still allowed to do that in there. Other zones that didn't allow multifamily houses, you still cannot do multifamily housing. Let's see. So I want to be really clear that the T4 that's not in the discussion. It's not in the proposed regs. we took it off. There was a lot of concern. I think it's going to take a lot more public meetings and discussions and input. Interestingly enough, reading through the comments, there was, first of all, the T4 idea came from surveys over the years that have gone through town. Everybody's looking for a town center. The POCD, we had multiple public meetings, and the comments were people were looking for a town center, people were looking for some mixed use, people were looking for a place that young professionals could move to in Woodbridge as opposed to being in New Haven. And so all these things people actually wanted. So our attempt on the T4 was to respond to those ideas that people said they were interested in. Having said that, it's not in here right now. It's still listed as a placeholder in the proposed regs, but there's no zone for a T4. Even the comments at the last meeting, people were saying they still wanted that. A lot of the comments talked about not actually putting it in the part of Woodbridge that we're talking about, Lower Woodbridge. Is there any other place in Woodbridge that it can be done? And so I think that is part of an ongoing discussion that needs to happen at another public meeting if we decide to move forward and having more discussions on that. We're asking for comments, obviously, we're listening. We're not going to, I'm not going to close the hearing tonight, so it's going to be actually continued until our meeting in October, which is when the commission can have further discussion and decide if we want to take a vote of adopting these. For people that are coming up here and talking, we're requesting that a 2-minute maximum. We would appreciate that. I think that's it. So one of the other things is we had our regs. Everybody in the commission read different sections. There were some, and as well as Chris Sullivan did a great job working with us. We found there were some duplications, there was some typos and stuff like that, and we tried to pick up as much of that as we could when we put it online and when we put up the public notice and when the document was available in the Planning and Zoning office. Since then, we've actually also been continuing to read it because this is an ongoing process, and there are a few things that have changed that we've made adjustments on, and we have a summary that can be passed out, but I mean, they're not, there's nothing
substantive.
There's nothing substantive. Thank you very much. And so this will be, this newer, more corrected document will be online tomorrow and available in Planning and Zoning. But again, it's 99% of what you're already looking at if you've been looking at the other one. You know, for example, Chapter 6, we removed duplicate text. There was duplicate words, some typo stuff. There was blank pages, which we cleaned up. There was some text actually that was missing. That was put in there, flood zones. There was a description of some of the districts and boundaries that haven't changed at all, but so now that's been corrected on the new document as far as what it actually is. So again, we're welcome. We're happy that people are here to listen. You have to be incredibly polite because we have a new member of the commission. I don't want to scare them. So we'll open the floor and we'll try to answer questions. Leslie's here. If she can answer questions, we can try to answer questions, and we'll go from there. So whoever would like to start, since I'm sure you want me to start.
Stephanie Tarleglio, 166 Center Road. I would just ask that you would take out all references,
Oh, that was you.
that you would take out all references to the T3 and T4 as they're no longer on your map, and they're referenced on 6 different pages in the new zoning regulations. In the general bulk regulations, there's 3 pages. They really serve no purpose, Mr. Kaufman.
I'm listening.
Okay. As they've been taken out of the map. But they've been taken out of the map. And I think these references leave the door open to many other problems down the road. If we're not going to use them now, if they're not valid, then we shouldn't have them in there, I feel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seth, did you sign in?
Oops.
Did you sign in?
Where's your sign?
In front of you right there.
Is there anyone else?
Hi, Chris Dickerson, 6 Metler Street. I want to just clarify, when is your next meeting going to be?
October
Second.
2nd? First?
October 1st.
First Monday.
When you have that meeting, will this map and the documents on the town website correspond? Okay, because it's really important for us to be able to go to the town website on the day of the meeting and be able to print off information that's relevant, because I went and printed this off an hour ago, and it's totally irrelevant to what we're talking about.
Well,
I'm looking-
what's totally irrelevant?
You have the T4 zone in here.
We have
and
the
then
T4 listed as a placeholder, but there are no zones for T4.
You've got all sorts
If you-
of, I know there's nothing on the map,
Okay, well,
which we didn't get to see until 7 o'clock. So for the next meeting,
Just got
please put it on the website well in advance, so that we can all take a look and read through it and digest it, so we can come here and actually ask reasonable questions. Because right now I have nothing to ask, because I haven't had a chance to look at it. So please do that, thank you.
Good evening. So, to Chris's point, I feel completely inadequately prepared tonight because there was no map. And in your chart, you put every zone, I guess, possible, which I agree with Stephanie. If they're now applicable and they're not going to be something as part of the ordinances now for the zoning, I don't want them in there. I think you're straddling a future problem for the future town planning and zoning or town Woodbridge. Some developer's going to come and say, what are you talking about? There's T4 here. Well, it's not in the map. Well, as Chris said, we just got the map, so we didn't know that. But also, unfortunately, my friend Stephanie, there is a T3. And the Merritt Manila area is listed, at least on the map I finally got to see a little while ago, as a T3D, I believe.
The D zone is called T3D.
Okay.
The C zone is now called T3C.
Correct.
And,
And I'm seeing in the T3D that it allows up to, looks like 10.8
it's exactly
duplexes,
what
which it is now.
Right now.
What I don't know is Dev 1 and Dev 2, which is a very big area of concern because that was where we had the Woodbridge Village Associates propose 150 rental units, which most of us here remember.
It still is. I mean, the Dev 1, there's nothing that's changing.
But on your chart, it just says NA, so it doesn't show me what those, so I didn't know whether you made a change or not. So to Chris's point,
I understand.
I'm coming blinded because with an NA there, I don't know if that means you made a change or you didn't. I'm glad to hear that you didn't make changes. I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
And I am concerned, and I may hold reservation to come back in a minute, but I am concerned that your next meeting, which you just stated may include a vote after you end the public hearing, is going to be insufficient only because that's the first time we're really going to be able to speak intelligently. I do think more people are going to come at that point, and especially with you announcing that you may be prepared to make a vote, which is a vote that only you have. We understand that. The Board of Selectmen don't have it. The town residents don't really have a say. So we're relying on this board to consider what we're asking and saying and our feelings on these properties. And I'm not sure that's going to be enough time to meet at your regularly scheduled meeting over in, if you're going to hold it in the town hall in a very small venue, expecting to finalize our thoughts now that we finally are going to see what the chart is going to be filled in with and what the maps say. So I'm very concerned that that evening may not be sufficient, and is asking to pack a room with some people who are still confused, because it would be our first opportunity to really discuss what this, now that it's going to be up hopefully online in the next day or so. Again, my concerns is that this chart is completed with numbers, Dev 1 and the rest, and that the map is included, so we know that that is your final map. I mean, the map has been changed over time, as we remember from the last meeting when the map was changed as well. There are some landowners sitting here tonight that their property straddles these lines, so where those lines are and what their zoning district is very important to them, to the sale of their property or to them keeping in what they're going to have next door. So thank you, and I hope that all those changes will be in there as soon as possible.
Tomorrow morning.
Hello, Kelly Parker, 35 Middle Avenue. I actually have a couple questions on the Special District 1, which I guess was or still is Development 2. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's existing.
Okay.
That's not new.
Okay. As of yesterday, when I looked online, it had something about still residential apartments in that area. Is that still the case? You had initially in the beginning you said that was off the table, but that's still in there?
There's nothing that's changed in that. That's what you.
So that's always been like that? That's what I'm
we do
asking?
right now.
Yeah, okay. Another question, as far as, so nothing's ever changed there. It's always been heavy manufacturing in that whole area? All the time, okay. I guess that was it. Those were my only questions. I do want to say that I hope you consider all our concerns like you have the last meeting. I do appreciate that because we literally abut this Special District 1. Our houses are right against it. And there should be more of a buffer with some of our homes. I know West River Ball Field is there, which is wonderful. But on the both sides of it, you have a plastic forming company that is up against some residential homes. And then you have the sports complex, which at times, we've had issues. I think proceeding, there should be consideration for the residents. And maybe look into, actually, I do have one more question. That just made me think.
It's a good suggestion.
I'm sorry.
It's a good suggestion.
Yeah, and I really think that should happen. I know, there was a lot of concern with the JCCs, and I think you guys did a really good job as far as buffering for them. I think there should have been a better buffer for West River residents on Middle Avenue. Also, question, has it always been a passive and active recreational area in that zone as well? Because that's in your, okay, does that mean motorized vehicles? That's a statement in your regulations as well.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Active is,
I know what active and passive are, but does that mean it also in your regulations, it has something about motorized vehicles? So I'm asking, is that what do you mean
no,
by
you
that?
can't do like BMX.
But what is motorized vehicles that is included in that area?
Give me a minute, I'll double
Okay.
check, but I don't.
Okay, those were my questions, and I do appreciate all your work. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name's Wayne Luciani, 6 Lawrence Street. You said in your opening statement that the zoning down there was outdated. So I would ask you, number one, what are you trying to accomplish as a board? What do you really want to do? You know, let us know. Let us know, not zone, let's not go through a whole, this, zone that, us trying to read into it. Tell us what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, I mean, like, for instance, our definitions were very good. Like, so for instance, usually there would be regulations for tattoo parlors, we didn't have a regulation. We didn't even have a definition of what a tattoo parlor was, so we're put between a rock and a hard place. Same thing with the gun shop. We didn't have anything that said where this could go. I don't even know if we had a definition of that. So that's kind of an example.
So those are those simple things
Well,
are
that's
things
kind
you're
of
trying.
what we're doing, so we're just making it clear for the process. We want it right now. People have come and complained that in other words, most towns have all these things online. We actually have people that just come in and talk to the planning and zoning office, as opposed to all the towns, you just go online, do it, and you come into anything. So it needs to be, I don't want to say it's zoning for dummies, because it's not, but it's made to be simple, and it's very clear on the chart what's allowed there and what's not allowed there, as opposed to a lot of times, applications will come before us that we were punting. And
Okay.
by the way, annoying people, because we're suddenly putting two-family houses in places that nobody really wanted a two-family house, but we had to because of the way things were written.
So you're trying to clarify as much as you can.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. How do you determine the lines? How did you determine the property lines and what was going to go in what area?
Well, we didn't change any zones.
So you just picked,
So we just are using the map that's been like this for a while.
and you're putting whatever you want to put in whatever zone that, let me ask you this question. How many zones did you go from and how many are you going to?
It's exactly the same number.
So same number of zones,
Same
we're just
numbers,
renaming everything?
Same lines, we're by creating this use table, it's very easy to go in here and see exactly what you're allowed to do in that zone. And before, you didn't have that option, it was always a little bit of punting.
Okay, so we're not really trying to create anything.
Nope, not in what we're doing now, no. The
Okay.
things that we talked about creating, we've taken off the table until there's a lot more public discussion.
Yeah, that's a concern of mine because as Tony mentioned, I'm one of those people that's right on the borderline. It looks like my property is carved out for whatever reason. It may have always been that way. I don't really know, to tell you the truth. But
I
it
hope
doesn't follow.
we're taxing you on it anyway.
Excuse me?
We're taxing you on it anyway.
Yeah, no question about it. It doesn't follow a natural property line or anything like that. So I was concerned about that. And if we're going to change
I
things,
agree that some of these things are a little funky, but we can do that.
if you're going to change them, you change them. You make it work.
Well, I don't know if I want to go down the road again.
Yeah, well.
But I hear you.
Okay, so those
I mean, I will tell you, one of the things that, the way the zoning map is, you kind of want zones, the same zone like on both sides of the street, for instance, because if you are putting retail or housing, you want houses on both sides of the street. We have zones that are set up that aren't really like that. We did actually, like up on Park Lane, for instance, we had GB, that is actually one change. The GB was going all the way up to Park Lane, but across the street was residential.
I'll take that because I own a piece of property on Park Lane.
There you go.
So leave it as is.
You mean that's changed?
It's changed.
That's changed.
Which one's yours?
All the way down the end, there's about 11 or 12 acres down there. If you want to buy a piece.
Really nice
really
residential, really nice residential. Isn't it all hill?
It's actually beautiful once you get down the slope to get in there, it's beautiful. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, so I would ask that you can keep that in mind as to what you're going to change and what you're going to draw in. You know, that's the concern of most people here, I would believe. That's about it for right now.
I mean, again, there was a lot of concern about this idea of, we thought we were just following what all public comment was through the process, and
Yeah, well, then
things change.
people elaborate a little and you start to think, yeah, different things can happen, and it's all good feedback.
Which is fine. So we listened and we tried to make it so it's.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Are there any other comments?
Bruce Schaefer, I live at 12 Twinbrook Drive, we have property down here. I'd like to reiterate that I think that you were saying something about voting at the next meeting. I think that there should be sufficient time to look at all the information and allow the public to respond to it before any type of vote goes on.
Okay, thank you. So I don't mean to feel like we were rushing things. Everything will be online tomorrow. It's 10 days before our next meeting. I probably should have said we're definitely closing it. We're continuing this meeting to the next meeting, and if we get to the next meeting and there are still unanswered things, the commission will probably want to continue it again. So I didn't mean to infer that we're definitely doing it no matter what.
Okay, Bob Hill, 68 Acorn Hill. So I have a curious question, and I know after the last time I spoke at one of these meetings, I did hear kind of a response from you, Jeff, in terms of thought process in that way. So I do have a curious question in relation to gas stations. So I'm looking at the rendering here that's in here. So what exactly would go in the other 70% of the building if only 30% was allowed for convenience?
I'm not sure, but I know that what you're referring to, but we haven't actually gotten to the point where what we would say goes in that building. I mean, to be honest with you, it would be nice if there was retail on the ground floor and maybe someone's dental office upstairs.
Okay, so retail on the ground floor is probably going, now here it shows a market, okay?
That works.
So,
Bookstore.
okay, a market. So what does a market sell? Okay, probably a lot of the same things that a convenience store sells. Okay? My point, and I know the reaction wasn't positive, the petroleum industry doesn't build traditional gas stations anymore. They don't build repair centers anymore. They don't do that, okay? So for years they went through a process of converting gas stations that looked like gas stations that became convenience stores, which weren't so good looking, okay? Because, oh, that was a gas station. It's a different world today. Today they build basically restaurants and convenience stores within the same, and most of them do a pretty good job with it today. If you drive around the food country in between Cumberland Farms and Sheetz and Wawa and that type of thing, and they're usually pretty attractive, not city old gas stations and that type of thing. So I was just perplexed, you know, if we're saying it's 30% convenience, you know, what we're really saying is if it can't be, you know, the types of items that a convenience store sells, what we're really saying, because you're not going to get a gas station with service, that just means in Woodbridge there's never going to be a gas station built. We did build one on the Litchfield Turnpike. They found a way kind of around the rules, okay? And that's really probably not what we want to perpetuate. We really want people to kind of do it the right way, whatever the rules.
What they did is perfectly legal, Bob.
I understand that, but in every...
It's retail, and
Yeah, but there's no one out in the booth out there, okay, and the way it was permitted, okay? And they're operating it the way they need to operate it, but it's not really the way it was really approved, because in essence, the person that's in the gas station or it's overseeing is in the convenience store. I'm glad it's working for them, okay? But that's, you know, they've got a convenience store, but in essence, really, they're operating the gas station from the convenience store. I mean, it's truly the way it's operating. I mean, so technically, they're really in violation, and I'm glad they are, because I think they're doing well. But anyway, I get it if what we're saying is, you know, in Woodbridge, we are gas station snobs, you know, we can go to New Haven to buy gas. That's really kind of a little bit short-sighted on our part to expect that services like that aren't going to be built in our town. And I'm only focusing on this particular, you know, point here because I don't think there is an answer what would go in the other 70%, because it probably, you're right, market, that is a convenience store. So.
Actually, okay. I know where you're going, I get it, and I know who your clients are, but the fact of the matter is, hear me out. The picture is a concept, and we are trying to...
Use the mic, Jeff.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. One of the things we are in charge of doing is trying, because we hear this a lot, is that we are trying to keep a rural farm town look around Woodbridge. That's what we do. And there are things in here, you'll see that where we are attempting to do that. Okay, even better in places that haven't stuck to it, we're trying to make it so you have to stay to it. So number one, that picture doesn't say that only 30% of that store is a convenience store. It actually shows a market on the ground floor, and we don't have anything in our regs that say markets can only sell 30% convenience items. The fact of the matter, it's a market, and to be honest with you, what's good about that picture, and which we should pick up on, is that we're willing to say, we would like to see a nice country store, and then you could put your gas station pumps behind. I think everybody would like that. Nobody wants to look at gas stations. There are towns that actually do that. It's a pretty common thing. So this picture shows nice colonial building in Woodbridge, looking like the architecture of Woodbridge. That's what we're trying to do. So it's not like someone's going to come along and build exactly what we're doing there. I get it. And every time you come into a town to get approval for a Cumberland Farms, you have to come before a zoning board and they decide, well, listen, we don't really like those windows. We don't like that roof. The towns are allowed to do that. So that's what we're trying to show by showing that picture.
Just so you know, I'm not representing any clients. Okay, just so you know, I'm not. Okay, all right. I'm just basically bringing to you experience I have working in the industry. Okay, that's all.
I appreciate it.
Okay, that's all I'm trying to do. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Very quick question.
On page 47, you have a statement, performance and maintenance bond for public improvements, and you say that the commission may require performance bonds in an amount sufficient to secure to the town the actual installation cost of public improvements within 2 years from the approval date of the affordable housing development. This is the affordable housing development portion. Does that include an impact fee for things like schools, or is that just things like sidewalks and sewer connections and things of that nature?
I don't think it includes an impact fee.
It does not include an impact fee. Okay.
But that's interesting.
Okay.
So that's...
I have a question under 3.0 land uses, adult establishments. It says that the purpose of
Do you have a
the...
page on that? I'm sorry.
I don't see it.
No, maybe not. Okay, sorry.
It says adult establishments, and it says the purpose of this regulation is to reduce the attendant negative effects caused by such adult-oriented establishments by locating such uses in areas less sensitive to such negative effects. Where would these areas be on the map that you gave out tonight?
It's not a zone, that's a, this is about the layout.
GB.
This is at the layout.
And there is no change, it is exactly where it was in the existing zoning
Yeah,
regulations.
this isn't a change, but she's still asking a question.
Jeff, it's in GB and it's in T4 that doesn't exist. And GB, it's got the disclaimers about distances, separation
Right.
distances.
So
and
we're trying-
That has not changed. for
Right,
public
so what which is in our regs, which we changed in the last 5 years, I think, where we're trying, and it was actually from a lot of public comment on social media about driving through town, everybody has to look at all the dumpsters in the front of the property, and this was put in so that dumpsters for any kind of property.
This doesn't talk about dumpsters, adult establishments.
adult establishments.
Okay, I'm answering the wrong questions.
Yeah, no. Dorothy, this is the same language that's been in the
But I wanted to know,
regulations.
where would it be located?
It's allowed in the general business district, which is where it's always been allowed since that regulation was established, and it has distance parameters to other uses. So this is not new. This is the way the regulation was changed when it was first adopted.
Thank you.
Sorry, I misunderstood the question. Apologize. That's why we have Chris here.
I'm back. Really quickly, so we would greatly appreciate all the information, hopefully you said tomorrow. We can talk more intelligently about it when we see what is filled in on the chart and what the maps say. But I do have a question. Leslie, thank you for being here tonight. But I understand that our consultant is leaving us. Will you be here and see this project through completion? Will you be here to answer questions come next public hearing? Yes, okay. Thank you. That was my question. Thank you.
She wanted to know.
Hey Jeff, I've just looked at this quickly, and I've never gone through our regs to begin with. All of them.
Actually, you have.
Through the process, but not through the reading. I've got to say, I think it's really valuable to clean everything up, like tower sizes and so forth. Really necessary, and so really good you took this on. I was just wondering, the AHD section, is that new? Has things changed with that, or?
Exactly the same.
Excuse me?
It's exactly the
It's
same.
exactly the same that we have. Okay, thank you.
Did you ever get an answer to a question on the motor rights?
Yes, I believe Leslie went back and spoke to all.
What was it for everyone, so we could all hear?
I'm sorry, I don't know your name, I apologize, but
Kelly.
Kelly? She's going to find the exact passage that she's talking about because we couldn't find it, and she's going to email it to me. I gave her my email address, and I'll be happy to answer.
You just said to us that you answered. Didn't you just say she answered?
She responded to her. What she's
That's not an
asking.
answer.
Well, that is an answer.
Okay.
She didn't have an answer for it.
We couldn't find the area, the phrase
question-
that she was asking me to interpret.
Right.
At
We
which
were just
point,
asking, he said you answered it, but there was no answer because you don't have
as
it.
soon as she sends it to me, I will answer it, and I will send a response to Jeff, and I will be happy to respond to it next meeting as well.
Any other questions? Any other questions? All right. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. And come to our October meeting. And if it looks like, just to comment on the question about the size of the room, since they were able to figure out how to get a loudspeaker system down here, we don't have a problem having our meeting down here. ever.
The next meeting will be down here.
No, I don't know if it'll be down here, but if we do it down here, I don't have a problem doing it down here since we have microphones. Yeah, it's first Monday. Joe, you know that. You're our liaison, first Monday of every month.